who aligned a corridor of broken stones to a star that no longer rises. The mists roll across the moors like the breath of a forgotten century, soft and cold, hiding what was once bright. They say a king rode here once, a man called Arthur, whose name still glows faintly in the world's long memory. Yet, as the fog curls over the ruins, no crown remains, no sword, only silence and wind. Beneath this silence lies the oldest mystery. Was Arthur a legend built from longing, or a real man swallowed by time? The question drifts, carried by the hush of dawn, toward the fallen stones and the shimmer of water beyond. Somewhere, a voice once swore loyalty, and another whispered betrayal. Now only the birds recall both. By midday, the mist has thinned, revealing stones that once marked a hall or a hearth. The wind moves through their gaps like a whispering choir. Eamon kneels beside a flat slab carved with spirals, unsure if it marks a tomb or a story. Mara sketches quietly, each line connecting centuries. The world feels balanced between myth and soil. She wonders aloud who placed these stones here. A warrior, a builder, or a dreamer who wished to catch the light of dawn forever. Far away in time, a monk sits beneath a candle's trembling light. His quill scratches words that will one day build legends. He writes of a king who defended Britain when all else fell. His eyes, weary but full of faith, see truth not in proof but in need. The people must believe in someone who once stood unbroken. Mara uncovers the bronze fragment completely. Not a sword, but part of a scabbard's mount. Still hums faintly in her hand, as though remembering battle songs. Eamon records every detail, yet both feel the silence between their words grow heavy. Sometimes, discovery feels like waking someone who should have been left asleep. Night gathers gently. The ruins sink back into shadow, but Eamon whispers the name Arthur softly, as if testing whether the land will answer. Only the wind responds, yet for a moment, the air seems to listen. The old name drifts through darkness, echoing against centuries, waiting for the next dreamer to speak it again. The moor fades behind as we travel further south, where old Roman stones still hold the warmth of a forgotten sun. The road stretches in silence, straight as memory, worn smooth by centuries of marching feet. Eamon and Mara follow it, tracing the map that once held the veins of an empire. Here, history breathes in quiet gasps, broken milestones, half-buried coins, the ghosts of discipline and order. In this place, the myth of Arthur feels less like legend and more like survival, born from the ruins of men who once believed the world could be tamed. Yet as twilight deepens, one question lingers. Did Arthur march these roads, or merely walk within their shadow? As night falls, they make camp beside a half-collapsed wall. Its stones, once part of a Roman fort. A small fire burns low, its smoke rising into the quiet. Mara writes in her field notes, while Eamon studies the flames, his mind wandering through centuries. The air feels heavy, full of unseen eyes, soldiers, monks, kings, all fading, but never gone. Somewhere nearby an owl calls, and its echo rolls across the hills, like the cry of a forgotten army. In the gray morning, they meet Professor Aldred, a 67-year-old male historian with silver hair and deep-set blue eyes. His voice carries the rhythm of the North, calm, deliberate, full of worn wisdom. He shows them maps and sketches of battlefields where a warlord once fought invaders, a man historians now call Arthurius. His certainty feels fragile, but his belief burns steady. He tells them, legends begin when truth refuses to die. Eamon listens in reverent silence, as though the professor's words awaken something older than memory. Through Aldred's voice, a vision rises. The sound of steel and shouting fills the valley. Ghostly soldiers in battered armor charge beneath banners of blue and crimson. Arthur, again in his prime, leads them. 45. Dark-haired eyes, burning with determination. His sword a flash of light. The Saxons press from the east, their cries sharp and wild. Yet the air holds no victory, only exhaustion and resolve. When the dust clears, both sides fade like smoke. The historian's voice returns softly. This was where courage became story. By sunset, the world grows quiet again. The road winds through meadows where no wars remain, only whispering grass. Eamon and Mara sit on a fallen wall, watching the last light fade. She closes her notebook. He closes his eyes. Between them lies a sense of peace, not from answers found, but from the beauty of the search itself. The stones seem to breathe around them, holding the weight of everything that came before. In the hush, the legend feels alive again, carried softly on the wind. Morning mist curls around the arches of a ruined abbey, where ravens roost and silence lingers like old incense. Eamon and Mara wander through the overgrown cloisters, boots crunching on fallen leaves. A faint carving on the wall catches their eye, the outline of a cross beside faded Latin words. Rex quondam, Rex futuris, the once and future king. Mara brushes her fingers over it, her voice a whisper, wondering who first wrote those words. The stones seem to breathe with memory. Perhaps some monk, centuries ago, dreamed of Arthur while the world outside fell into ruin. And in that dream, a king was born. Again, far beyond their time, Brother Anselm bends once more to his parchment. His ink-stained hand trembles slightly as he writes of the great king who rose from chaos to defend the light. He does not know the truth. He only knows the people's need for hope. His candle flickers. Wax drips on the table. Behind him, the walls hum with the echo of prayers and the soft rustle of pages turning. Somewhere in the quiet, the sound of the quill becomes a heartbeat. In his fragile lines, Arthur begins to live. Down by the river near the abbey, Mara and Eamon uncover traces of an ancient settlement. The water glides slow and silver, carrying fragments of time. In the silt, they find rusted iron, curved and brittle, once part of a blade. Eamon holds it to the light, breath-catching. It might be nothing, or it might be everything. Mara says softly, "Sometimes truth sinks so it can be found again." The river answers with a low murmur, as though agreeing. That night, Eamon dreams. He walks through a field of light and shadow, where figures of knights ride across misted plains. Arthur appears again, his armor dimmed, eyes burning with both sorrow and strength. He speaks no words, only raises his sword toward the dawn. The blade catches sunlight and turns to dust, scattering like golden ash. Eamon wakes with tears he doesn't understand, not sadness, but awe. He senses he's seen a truth too vast to keep. At dawn, Mara wakes to find Eamon already at work, his notebook open beside an ancient manuscript spread on the ground. It's a copied fragment from a lost chronicle, perhaps even Anselm's hand. The ink has faded, yet the words are clear enough. The king who bore the light shall return when the land forgets itself. The two exchange a quiet look, not of triumph, but reverence. The legend is not gone. It has only changed its shape. And as sunlight spills over the abbey walls, the story breathes again. Wind sweeps across a lonely hill near Glastonbury, carrying the scent of rain and heather. Eamon and Mara stand by an excavation trench where the earth has given up fragments of armor, pottery, and bones. The landscape feels ancient, alive, like a sleeping giant turning in its dreams. A mound nearby, rounded and green, draws the eye. Locals call it the Hollow Hill. Some say it hides Avalon. The air hums faintly, a note of expectation, as though the ground itself remembers stories no voice can tell. Beneath their feet, something sacred waits to wait. They meet Gareth Penhall, a 72-year-old male folklorist with silver hair and kind, sharp eyes. He's lived his whole life near these hills, gathering stories like seeds. In a cottage filled with old books and maps, he tells them of a cave beneath the mound where torches once flickered and voices chanted Arthur's name. "It's not about finding him," he says softly. "It's about remembering why we keep looking." His words settle in the air like dust motes glowing in firelight. Guided by Gareth's directions, they follow a narrow passage through the base of the hill. Damp air closes around them. Lanterns flicker on slick walls of earth and stone. The tunnel opens into a chamber lined with ancient carvings, spirals, crosses, and the outline of a sword beneath a crown. In the center lies a slab of limestone, its surface carved with Celtic knotwork. Mara kneels, tracing the patterns with trembling fingers. The air feels heavy, charged. She whispers, "If this is Avalon, it sleeps in silence." They uncover a rusted fragment embedded in the limestone, not Excalibur, but something older. The metal is dark, almost fused to stone, as if it never wished to be found. Eamon brushes the dirt gently, and a faint line of inscription appears. "He who rests shall rise with light." The silence feels deeper now. The torchlight trembles, shadows leaning close like listeners. For the first time, both feel the legend as something living, pulsing between them and the earth. When they emerge from the hill, dawn has returned. Mist coils around their feet, and the fields shimmer with dew. Behind them, the mound lies quiet again, as though closing its eyes. Mara turns to Eamon, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe Avalon isn't a place," she says. "Maybe it's what we remember when the world forgets hope." He nods, the morning light soft on his face. Far away, the church bells of Glastonbury ring faintly, echoing through time like a heartbeat beneath the lamp. Centuries pass like falling leaves. The world changes, yet Arthur's name endures, reshaped by poets and kings who never saw his face. In candlelit halls, young knights kneel before their lords, swearing oaths that sound like echoes of a forgotten voice. Honor, courage, mercy. The words roll through time like quiet thunder. Eamon, reading an illuminated manuscript in a museum library, sees the same pattern emerge, the same light reborn in parchment and gold. The once and future king has become a code of being, a dream turned into duty. In the 13th century, a young knight named Sir Rowan of Ely rides through battlefields strewn with smoke and sorrow. Though raised in a world of steel, his heart is shaped by songs of Camelot. He spares a fallen enemy against all custom, whispering a prayer for peace. Later, bards will say he dreamed of Arthur, standing beside him, smiling faintly. Perhaps mercy itself is the sword reborn, sharper than any blade forged by hand. In a monastery near Canterbury, Brother Lucan, a 61-year-old male monk with steady hands and tired eyes, illuminates a new chronicle. His quill moves slowly, tracing gold letters. "In every man of honor, the king endures." He pauses, listening to the wind at the window. It sounds like distant hooves fading into silence. He smiles faintly. The ink glistens before drying. The story has become eternal not through blood, but belief. Back in the present, Mara stands before a glass display in a museum, a medieval sword gleaming faintly under spotlight. The placard reads, "Attributed to Sir Rowan of Ely, Rai, 101275. In its reflection, she sees herself, Eamon, and behind them, the faint shadow of a crowned figure watching. For a moment, time folds. The legend looks back. She whispers, "It was never about the weapon, was it?" He answers softly, "No, it was about what it defended." Night falls over the museum courtyard. Eamon and Mara sit quietly on a stone bench, listening to the rain against the glass. The world feels heavy with centuries, yet peaceful too. Eamon closes his notebook saying softly, "Perhaps Arthur never died. He just changed shape." Mara nods. The rain gleams like silver threads, weaving history and dream together. Somewhere within the echo of each raindrop lies a single promise that never faded, the light of a king who taught the world to remember goodness even in its darkest hour. Long after the visitors have gone, the museum stands quiet. Rows of glass cases gleam faintly under moonlight. Eamon walks alone through the hall, hearing only the soft echo of his own steps. Artifacts sleep behind glass, swords, shields, fragments of manuscripts, each holding the breath of vanished centuries. He stops before the display marked Arthurian Age. The silence feels almost reverent. He leans closer and whispers, "Were you ever real?" For a moment it seems the air stirs, like an unseen answer passing through him. Days later, Mara stands upon the cliffs of Tintagel, where the sea beats endlessly against black stone. Wind tugs at her coat as she stares toward the horizon. Legends say this is where Arthur was born, or perhaps where he vanished. The waves crash below, carrying the same rhythm as a heartbeat. She closes her eyes and imagines ships with red sails, knights in silver, the echo of a harp's final chord. The wind answers with a sigh that sounds almost human. An old story breathing still. That night, Eamon dreams again. He finds himself standing in a vast library with no walls, shelves stretching into mist. Voices murmur from every book. He opens one, and pages flutter with scenes of battles, prayers, and kings. A whisper rises, not words, but warmth, like the memory of courage itself. A shadow moves beyond the shelves. Arthur, standing calm, sword sheathed. The truth was never written. The voice says, it was lived. When Eamon wakes, dawn has already broken. Later, back at his office, Eamon writes his paper, not a conclusion, but a reflection. He no longer searches for proof. He writes of belief, of longing, of how myths keep us human. Mara sends him her sketches and notes, each one full of quiet devotion. Their work has become something larger, a bridge between history and heart. When he finishes, he closes his notebook gently, like placing a hand over an old friend's shoulder. Outside, the city hums, indifferent but alive. Weeks later, Eamon and Mara meet once more by the river where it all began. The same calm water glides beneath a pale sunset. They talk little. There is nothing left to prove, only to feel. Mara tosses a pebble into the stream, watching the ripples fade. "Do you think we'll ever find him?" she asks. Eamon smiles softly. "We already did," he answers. "The ripples fade to stillness, mirroring the sky." The silence feels like music, the last note of a song that never truly ends. The road winds back to the hill where it all began. Eamon and Mara walk slowly through pale morning mist, boots soft against wet grass. The mound stands unchanged, green and quiet, yet it feels different now, as if it recognizes them. Eamon lays his hand upon the soil, warm from the hidden sun. "He's still here," he says softly. Mara nods, eyes glimmering with gentle certainty. They do not dig or measure or take notes. They simply stand, listening. Somewhere beneath, the heartbeat of legend stirs faintly, waiting for the world to dream again. They visit Gareth Penhall one last time. His cottage smells of wood smoke and tea, the hearth glowing with low fire. He listens quietly as they tell their findings, or rather, their understanding. When they finish, he smiles, lines deepening like folded parchment. "I told you," he says gently. "The truth is not what we find. It's what we remember." He walks them to the door and stands watching as they go. Behind him, the firelight flickers on old maps of Britain, the names of kings fading softly into gold. That evening, Mara stands again by the sea, waves whispering against the cliffs of Tintagel. The horizon glows like polished glass, and the wind tastes of salt and rain. She imagines a golden boat far out on the water, carrying a sleeping king beneath a silver shroud. His sword rests beside him, blade dulled by time but still whole. The waves close around him, calm as breath. Somewhere beyond sight, Avalon drifts. Neither heaven nor earth, only memory floating between them. In sleep, Aemon dreams of a vast hall lit by unseen light. Stone pillars rise into endless dusk, and at its center a figure rests upon a marble throne. Arthur, no longer a warrior, but a presence, timeless and still. His armor is dull with dust, yet his face is calm, as though waiting for dawn. The hall hums softly with unseen voices, singing not of battle, but of peace. As Aemon approaches, the king opens his eyes. When the heart forgets the light, he whispers, "I will return." Then the dream fades into quiet gold. Morning comes. The moor lies calm beneath a pale sky, the world unchanged, yet somehow gentler. Aemon and Mara walk along the same Roman road where they once searched for answers. No ruins now, no ghosts. Only sunlight and the sound of their footsteps. She takes his hand. Neither speaks. The air feels light, alive with quiet grace. The legend has returned to rest, folded gently into time. Yet somewhere deep in the earth, beneath stone and story, a sleeping king waits still. Not to rise, but simply to remind us that every ending is only another dawn.